All right, on this atmosphere analysis resource sheet that you have, first start off by drawing your rings if they're not already present on your paper. You want to have 5 rings to stand for the 5 layers of our atmosphere. We really are only going to talk about the first 4 layers, so you don't really need that 5th one, but it is great that you know that we now have another 5th layer. Start from the inside and work your way out, and you can use your introduction to the atmosphere packet. Label your first layer with the name. You can go ahead and pause this video so that you can make sure you have your layers down. But from the inside, we have the troposphere. Tropo, that prefix meaning change. That's because our atmosphere in this layer is changing with the weather. Then we have our stratosphere. Strato meaning layer. This is the place where we find our ozone layer. Strato meaning also spreading, so this ozone is spreading throughout this layer. Above that we have the mesosphere, and meso meaning middle. This is the middle layer. Above that we have the thermosphere, and you've probably heard of things like thermometer, thermos, thermostat. These are things dealing with heat. The thermosphere is a hot layer. And then above that is the exosphere, and that prefix X you might hear in things like exterior, external. Those are the outer layers. So that's one way to remember the layers of our atmosphere. Now from here, we want to think about what is happening to temperature in each layer and label that. Is each layer getting warmer or is it getting colder? So you can actually find that in your packet, and it would be really great to look at some of those graphs again to make sure you know, is the troposphere going to get colder or is it going to be warmer as you get higher? What about the stratosphere, mesosphere? And then finally, what is happening with the air pressure as you move outward? Does air pressure increase or does it decrease? Right here you can see the temperature changes. I labeled those for you, and I also showed how that as you go closer to our planet, you have more air pressure, and that would make sense since there's more air molecules on top of you. I did also point out here some of the major gases of our atmosphere. You can also list more of them, but it is important to know that 78% of our atmosphere is nitrogen and 20.9% is oxygen. So that's the structure of our atmosphere, and right now I'd like you to pause your video to write a conclusion, a sentence about what you have learned about the structure of the atmosphere. What is it? How is it structured? What would be important for someone to take away from this class? So go ahead and pause the video and write your conclusion. Okay, now we're going to tackle the functions of our atmosphere, and there are a variety of functions. I'm sure you could think about this yourself, and I challenge you right now to pause the video and write down some of the functions. I will be going over it, but it really is important for you to think about this first. So go ahead and pause the video and just brainstorm. What are some of the things that Earth does to help us? Or what does it do? Why is it important? What's going on with our atmosphere? All right, so some of the things that we talked about, and the most basic one that almost all of you could have told me, was that it allows for organisms to go through respiration. And I say a broad statement like that because for animals, they can consume oxygen gas while plants take in carbon dioxide. Okay, so it really depends on what the organism needs. We need oxygen, but other things need carbon dioxide. Another function of our atmosphere is it protects us from space and space debris. And what do I mean by that? So this is important to list off that we have spoken about how the ozone layer stops some UV light. We also have the exosphere and thermosphere absorb high energy radiation. And then from there we have the mesosphere. And as a quiz, what is the mesosphere doing? Well, it's stopping meteors from coming in. Meteors and other space debris. Another thing that our atmosphere does for us is that it regulates the temperature of our planet. This stops our planet from getting too hot. It stops our planet from getting too cold. Being too hot or too cold. And it distributes heat from equator out and upward or downward. So if most of the heat is hitting our equator, it is able to go throughout the globe. The air in our atmosphere is not this air is moving throughout our globe. It's not stationary. It's constantly moving. And so if it gets warm around the equator, that moving air can carry that warmth and that heat and energy to other places of our globe. It also allows for the recycling of nutrients. We talked about how the troposphere, the prefix tropo meaning change, is where weather occurs. And so weather recycles, sorry for my spelling, water. We also have nitrogen recycling happening. So that nitrogen is passed on between the soils, it's in organisms and plants that are living, and then it is also released into the atmosphere and taken back up by the soil. So without our atmosphere, this recycling and moving of things like nitrogen, water, and even carbon would not happen. And you will find out just how important carbon cycling is in the coming weeks. So now that you know the functions of Earth's atmosphere, I want you to take a moment to write a conclusion about the function of Earth's atmosphere and what it allows for, or why it is important for these things to all occur in our atmosphere.